Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third UFCW Local 770 membership meeting of 2024. So we're here at the LA office and we're connected right now to folks at offices, all the other offices. So we got Bakersfield, welcome Bakersfield, welcome Camarillo, welcome Santa Barbara, welcome Arroyo Grande, welcome to folks in HP, welcome to Santa Clarita. Did I forget anybody? Well, welcome LA. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to introduce up here. I'm Kathy Finn. I'm the president of Local 770. We have Mara Cruz Cesena, the organizing director. We have Danny Garcia, secretary treasurer. We have Heather Rutman, our communications director. We have Nam Lay, our political director. And we have Carrie Ann Thomas, who works in the executive office and is our Zoom genius tonight. Zoom genius for tonight. I'm going to give it over to Danny for one moment. We are going to be translating this meeting into Spanish, and in Spanish, Danny is going to explain about that.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. Okay, para escuchar esta junta en español, si están en Zoom, presione el dibujo que se ve como un mundo. So, otra vez, si están en Zoom, van a presionar el dibujo que se ve como un mundo y van a escoger, van a escoger el donde dice español o Spanish. Va a estar en inglés, dice Spanish, so tienen que presionar donde dice Spanish, por favor. Y para los que están aquí y quieren escuchar la junta en español, que están aquí en persona, van a tener que usar su celular y marcar un número. So, lo voy a repetir, pero el número es 617-941-8859. Otra vez, para las personas que están presentes en persona y quieren escuchar la llamada en español, van a tener que marcar de su celular al 617-941-8859. Gracias.
Thank you, Danny. So for those who are on Zoom, sorry, I'm short, so we got to change the camera. So for those who are on Zoom, we are going to be taking questions that we will be answering later at the end of the meeting. You can put them in the Q&A box on Zoom. We'll be taking live questions here. And if you're at one of the other offices and you have a question, somebody at your office will help you to type the question into the question and answer box on the Zoom at the office you're at. Some questions will be answered live. Some may be answered by some of the directors here typing them. I do want to thank folks who registered in advance and submitted questions. Most of the questions that were submitted in advance have been sort of woven into the presentation, will be answered as part of the presentation. If you had a very specific question about your own issue or your own situation, in that case, you will be contacted by your rep to go over your question with you. But all the very general questions will be answered. So tonight, we're going to take care of a little bit of business first, including approving the minutes, the trustees report, and the investment report. And then we are going to have reports on our political and legislative agenda, on what's happening in the Kaiser division, what's happening in our cannabis division, what's happening in our CVS and Rite Aid, our drug division. We're going to talk about the upcoming grocery campaign. I'm going to give a report about the merger and a discussion about the upcoming vote to restructure and increase dues. And then we will take member comments and questions. So actually the first order of business I'll take care of, and then I'm going to turn it over to Danny, which is the approval of the minutes of the meeting for June. The meetings, now that we've been doing them on Zoom, they are recorded and they are on our website for anybody to see. So I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes, which are an exact recording of the meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Okay, okay, here, is there a second? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, and now we will have the trustees report.
Okay, thank you, Kathy, and good evening again to everyone. So, trustees report for June 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. Beginning balance as of January 1st, 2024, 19,028,964. Excuse me, my voice. Revenue and expenses from operation, subtotal 10,816,667. Expenses, cash disbursement, subtotal 12,421,167. And we have a reimbursement due from the trust fund, 244,257. Income and deficit of 1,360,244 for ending balance as of 6/30/2024 of 17,668,720. Cash balance, cash receipts, 16,288,909. We have cash disbursements subtotal of 16,333,728 for cash balance as of 6/30/2024 of 870,260. Balance sheet assets total of 20,689,559. Liabilities of 3,020,839. Fund balance as of 6/30/2024, 17,668,720.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the trustees report? Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of accepting the trustees report, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, investment transaction.
Oh, sorry, okay. Investment valuations and transactions, fair market value as of 7/31/2024. Total 13,098,144. Interest and dividend income, total of 28,761. Sales and principal paid down, realized gain of 27,802 for a total of 326,740. Purchases total of 293,108.
Is there a motion to approve the investment transactions? Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, you guys have it. Oh, this one's just FYI, yeah.
Yeah, just the membership report for the month of July. In the food division, 18,760 members, were down 37 members. In our drug division, 4,377, that's a gain of 16 members. Our general sales broke even. Our professional division, 1,506, were down 8 members. Our barber and beauty division broke even. Our meat cutters, 1,654, that's a gain of 13 members. Meat packers, 442, were down 4. Our cannabis division, 588, that's a gain of 14 members, for a total of 27,343 members. We're down 6 from June, and currently there are 1,049 members and withdraw due to a leave of absence.
Okay, that one doesn't need to be voted on, that's just a FYI. And then, so that's all the like actual business we have to take care of, so I am now going to turn it over to Nam to give our political and legislative update report.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you all. We got a packed house. Nothing like pizza and beer. No, I'm just kidding. Pizza and sodas. Sorry, pizza and sodas. Well, good evening, sisters and brothers. We are just a few weeks away from the election. To be exact, 56 days. And I want to talk about how the election connects to our union, to you all. We always talk about every election is important. We always tell you, go vote, the election of our life. This time, our jobs are on the line. Because tell me who's heard about the merger between Kroger's and Albertsons. Raise your hands. All right. Almost everyone in the room has heard of the merger. This merger is not good for you, not good for our communities. It's not good for jobs. It's not good for anyone except the greedy corporations that stand to benefit. It's a $24.6 billion merger. Guess how much they've spent on the merger? Anybody got any wild guesses? How much they've spent so far in 2 years on the merger? Try to get approved. How much? 580 million. Good guess. Another guess? Pretty close. Over $800 million. Think about that. Over $800 million has been spent by these companies to merge. But when we ask them to give you wages, when we ask them to do the right thing for you, they say they have no money. So you see the clear contrast here. They have plenty of money for their greed, not enough money for workers and for our communities. So I want to paint that contrast, why this election is so important. And people go, why is this election connected to the merger? Quite simply put, this administration has been the most pro-worker, pro-union, and anti-monopoly administration in recent history. And for the past 2 years, since the merger was announced, we've been fighting like crazy. From the streets, from the stores, from our communities, Washington, D.C., Congress, to every attorney general that we could find, that we could talk to. Now that 2 years just summarizes the fight, but it takes a lot of effort to battle $800 million. So it's a David versus Goliath fight. And if we lose this election, corporations win. They will tear down the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. They will just tear it apart, remove everyone there that's on our side, on the side of workers, on the side of communities, on the side of righteousness. So that's what's at stake here. I want to tie that in to you all because there's so much confusion out there. I want to break it down real simple. We lose the election, we lose the FTC, we lose the merger. And if you all know what's at stake, we got to kill this merger. So it's been 2 years. We're fighting like hell. We're not going to give up, but we need you with us. And the best way to do that, you got to vote. Corporations spend billions to get out the vote. We don't need to spend billions to get out the vote. We have meetings like this. You carry this message on to your friends, to your family, to your coworkers. The most effective way to get people to vote is other people, not TV ads, not digital ads, not mail, not advertisement. Yes, that's necessary, but people power is the most powerful message and weapon we have. And that's why we're here tonight. I want to share this message with you. I'm asking you all for your help. I need your help. We need your help to spread this message. This merger is devastating. There's no question about it. And I've gone a lot about the merger and the election. Let me kind of break down what's on the ballot. In California, we're in a really good place. We need folks to vote after presidential for their Congress and local races. That's key. Vote down ballot. Just don't vote for president and skip the rest. That is where we need to win back Congress. Why is Congress so important? Well, right now, we don't control Congress. We can't pass any new laws. We can't fix any bad laws. We're at a stalemate. We have the White House, we have the Senate, but we need the House of Representatives. So I know I'm getting to a really technical part of this, but voting down ticket. You're gonna get a voter guide. It's gonna be available on our website. We're gonna blast it out to you. So we're gonna make sure that in every part of your district, you'll have a chance to vote, but it's a key to vote down ballot. Let's talk about voting. It's a big hurdle. You worry about many things. Voting in person, taking time off. Where's your ballot? I got some updates for you. On October 7th, a ballot will be mailed to you. You're gonna get it in the mail. So write it down. We're gonna try to bug the heck out of you. October 7th is when ballots get mailed out. You can vote by mail. So I encourage you to do that. We're gonna remind you constantly, look for your ballot. Vote by mail, vote early, don't wait. Why is California so important, I think? We have the chance to help other states. You may have heard this, battleground states. We have the ability to help Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, and how are we doing that? We're sending union members to Arizona, to Wisconsin, to Nevada, to go knock on doors, to go make phone calls. And we here are gonna have volunteer shifts for Nevada. So in October, if you wanna join us on weekends, we're gonna let you know, but every weekend we have a chance to volunteer either in Nevada or in our own backyard, Santa Clarita, Palmdale, Lancaster. When you get out there, you'll see why it's so important. Us being there and encouraging other union members to vote is how we win this election. Point blank. There is no other secret sauce. There is no other silver bullet. This is the answer. So we have to collectively encourage our coworkers and our families to vote. Now, I think I mentioned a lot about voting and why it's so important. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of union members out there. So in Santa Clarita, Lancaster, Palmdale, it's the 27th Congressional District. George Whitesides is our candidate. It's Labor's candidate. There's over 58,000 union households. A lot of union households. They're not gonna go vote unless we knock on their doors. And of the 58,000, about 4,000 plus are UFCW members. So we get to go out there on weekends, knock on doors, meet our fellow coworkers in the Lancaster, Palmdale, Santa Clarita area, make new friends, get a nice workout. It's gonna be real cool, I promise. The weather is gonna be real nice, I guarantee it. But plenty of food. But I just wanna let you all know that the merger is something that we cannot give up on. Today's theme is gonna be continuing on that, but I just wanna tie it into the election. Many people don't realize how directly they're connected. And so much money will be spent against us. We're still here. So thank you all and keep up the fight. I'm gonna pass it on to Henry, who's gonna give the Kaiser report. She's way better than me, so thanks for sticking in there.
Hi, I'm Hetty Steinman, Labor Liaison for UFCW for Kaiser Permanente. At Kaiser, we're beginning to prepare our members and our stewards for bargaining in 2025. It began with Mercedes, Ron, Teresa, and Marquise attending the July Alliance Steering Committee in Portland. All our affiliate unions, as well as all our UFCW local unions representing Kaiser members from across the country, met for a two-day labor caucus. National and local bargaining issues were discussed, which include the following: timing and frequency and length of the sessions, local bargaining guidelines, locations for bargaining sessions, number of subgroups, scheduling of economic groups, observers, facilitation for national and local sessions, timing of local union bargaining committee, joint communications. And these are the following bargaining dates that have been agreed upon. Local bargaining kickoff will be virtual on March 12th, 2025. National bargaining kickoff will be on May 6th, 7th, and 8th of 2025. National bargaining sessions will be with dates in June, July, and hopefully we have a contract by August. UFCW Southern California locals met this morning to work on a bargaining survey that includes both national and local issues. The survey should be available to Kaiser members by the end of September. We are asking all our members to return their surveys and have their voice heard on what's important to them as we begin to prepare for bargaining. Our first action was on Wednesday, August 28th, when we held our first CAT kickoff blitz at LAMC. We had a really great turnout. And the other medical centers will follow in the next few months. We will be holding our annual Kaiser Steward Conference together with our Southern California UFCW locals on Tuesday, October 29th. And the focus of the conference is to train our stewards to become effective CAT, which are contract action team leaders. And then we have kudos to Mercedes on 3 Kaiser arbitration wins. 1 terminated member was brought back to work and made whole, and 2 settlements for employees who were terminated and have chosen not to return to Kaiser. Nearly $200,000 in compensation for these UFCW 770 members. Great job, Mercedes. And finally, I would like to recognize our Woodland Hills 24-hour pharmacy members. They are being recognized by Kaiser nationally and were highlighted on a video for their efforts and work on reducing pharmacy waste. This unit-based team project is being spread and implemented region-wide by our pharmacy teams. Congratulations to our UFCW 770 Woodland Hills 24-hour pharmacy team. Next, we'll hear from our cannabis division.
I'm a little tall. Thank you. Hey, how's it going, y'all? My name is Grayson Lichtenthaler. I am usually working at Catalyst Florence as a lead bud tender, and I'm currently a spur for the cannabis division over at UFCW 770. So as of late, the cannabis division has been working on our various campaigns focused on organizing more cannabis workers into Local 770 and strengthening our union in workplaces, especially at companies such as Catalyst, where me and my coworkers are preparing to go back to the table once again to negotiate a new contract. Part of our division's work has been to ensure that we have shop stewards elected and trained at all of our workplaces, as well as making sure that our members are engaged in preparing for negotiations so that their voices are being heard across the board. So far with that, the cannabis division has been able to hold steward elections at Sweet Flower, Stizzy, LA Cannabis Company. In addition, we are currently working to finalize steward elections to reach out to coworkers over at Catalyst and move those elections forward in the next couple weeks. We've also begun meeting with members and assembling bargaining teams at both LA Cannabis Company and LA Wonderland, where we are entering into negotiations this month. Another important piece of our internal organizing has been to bring workers together from across our local union to build solidarity and to strategize about how we will unite to win across the board for cannabis workers. With that, last week, the cannabis division actually held our first ever all cannabis member meeting at the Huntington Park office. It was incredible. The meeting was attended by leaders from a variety of companies and shops who were able to hear updates from around the union, as well as participate in discussions with one another about how members can be more involved within the union. Members also had a unique opportunity to take part in a fun and educational conversation about the medical benefits of various cannabis strains. And with that, the division is also busy with new organizing campaigns at several not yet union shops. We are looking forward to being able to report very soon on more new organizing victories, so please stay tuned on that. And finally, and above all else, we are working to ensure that while our legal industry is young, ever-changing, and often unpredictable, that the workplace guarantees of cannabis workers should never be called into question and should only increase as the industry does as a whole. Thank you so much, and let's hear from Marquise over at CVS.
Take it all in. I understand saying. All right, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. How you doing tonight? Well, I'm here to bring over this CVS report. Basically, as most of you guys know, if you've been following the social media, or if you know anybody that works at CVS, we're in the middle of a contract negotiation. We've been negotiating since March, and for the last 2 months, we have been without a contract. So basically, we're fighting over nickels and dimes with CVS, and that's literally all they're offering us, nickels and dimes. While we're out there struggling every day, working understaffed, no hours, 2 people in the front, barely anybody in the pharmacy, customers having to wait in long lines. CVS made $11 billion last year. $11 billion, and 3.1 billion went to their shareholders. 0.1 of that could have paid for our salaries. Just put that in perspective. 0.1 could have paid for our salaries. And we're arguing and struggling on a company that made $11 billion in profit. Not just net, I mean, not just what they just sell, profit. And they walked away with that much. And we're arguing with these people. While we're struggling to have people make $20 an hour, they're walking around with $11 million in their pocket. Why food workers, which I have no problem with them, I love that the fact that they got $20 an hour because they had to work and hard fight for it. And now it's our turn to work and fight for our money. Our time to fight and work for our pensions. It's time for us to fight and work so we can get better insurance, because we work for a company that claims they care about their customers, that claim they care about their workers. They're a healthcare company, but we don't have good, decent healthcare. They claim they care about their customers, but they're understaffed and they have everything locked up. They make everything aggravating for their customers. Just yesterday, we had a action over in Sylmar, and I want to give out the shout out to that CVS crew right there. Great job, the way to show the power of the people. They put action to work. They took, instead of words, they took action. They were working in a hostile environment. They were working in basically 100-degree heat in a billion. Let me take that back again. $11 billion company, and you're working in conditions at 100 degrees inside your pharmacy, inside your store. Think of that right there. $11 billion, and you can't give them a proper air conditioning system. And this is what our struggle has been fighting with CVS. This is the struggle that we've had day to day. This is the struggle every time we walk in there, because they don't look at the problems we have. They look past them. They don't respect the things that we are going through. They just ignore them. They just pass the buck. They tell us it's a local problem instead of a company problem. We tell them we need more money. They just basically almost in a sense tell us to be satisfied with what we get. We work hard. We work through a pandemic. We put our families on the line. We put ourselves on the line. And damn it, we deserve to get paid. Damn it, our families deserve to have better insurance. Damn it, our families deserve better. We deserve better. We work hard. We don't work hard just to make them rich and just walk away and get a pat in the head. No, we don't. We work hard for our families. We work hard for our children to better their lives. And CVS, if you don't want to do it, believe me, we'll move on to somebody that will. We're ready to strike. We're ready to fight. And I want everybody's not only solidarity between our CVS brothers and sisters, I want solidarity between Rouse, Vons, our cannabis division, Kaiser. Because without you guys having our backs, we're not gonna do it on our own. We need everybody. We need customers. So everybody want to band together, because your fight is my fight is your fight. So I want to pass this on. I don't want to hold on too long. I want to pass along to Cynthia so she can give us the writer report. Come on, my good friend right here, Miss Business Pants.
Tough act to follow, I'm gonna tell you that much. But yeah, let's give it up for the CVS workers, you guys, seriously. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Ayala. I'm a Rite Aid member, also part of the bargaining committee for Rite Aid as well. And currently as a spur for 770, I wanted to share a little bit of what's happening on negotiations at Rite Aid right now. And Rite Aid's offer is still not enough. Still not enough. I'm telling you, we go back and forth. It's ping pong, literally. So at this point, the wages are not enough, and not according for the inflation and the cost of living in Southern California. They said to us, there's no poverty here. Man, let me tell you, that really stirred up a lot inside of us. Made us cry, made us angry, willing to fight. Safety. They're not interested in doing what it takes to keep our members and the community safe. Also, we agreed to sign an extension through our last scheduled date of negotiations on 9/27. We need to make sure that Rite Aid hears your voice. Wear your lanyards. Get your customers talking, get them engaged. Get the community engaged. Sign the petition to support our Rite Aid workers. And join our store delegations. If you see something out there, if you see a member that you know they're gonna have a delegation, go out there and join. Join their fight. Join our fight, because when we fight, we win. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, so next we're gonna hear from James Pete, who is going to tell us about the food campaign, which is coming up. The food contract's gonna expire next year in March. But before we do, James is also a Spur, and he created a video. Grayson, Marquise, Cynthia, all Spurs. And so people may be saying, what's a Spur? And here's the answer.
Hi, my name's James Pete. A question I get a lot is, what is a SPUR? It stands for Special Project Union Representative, a program where you get pulled out of your store for a period of time to work with our union and get involved in the contracts that are going on and help impact people's lives. These are some of our experiences.
What's your most exciting, what's your most memorable experience being a SPUR? I'll put it at that.
When they were doing the votes, strike votes.
Why?
Members were voting, but there was department managers bringing out their members with them, and they were telling them what to vote.
What to vote?
I talked to that department manager and also the store manager and the bookkeeper, and tell them they're probably facing some ULPs.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're going in there. It gave the members that were scared, like, hey, you know what, look what the union's doing.
Okay.
We have a chance to vote, and we shouldn't be scared to vote what we really want.
Yeah.
So the members felt more empowered. And dealing with Food for Less, this is how we have felt for the longest. So for you to come in there and to let us feel that we had a voice, we did appreciate that. This last campaign has really proven that our voice matters, our opinion matters, everything matters. So the more we get involved, the better the outcome. The better the outcome, the better our contracts will be.
Sometimes there's people that are very timid, and it's really cool that the SPUR team is out there empowering members to become vocal, to get out of their shell and be as one. And you know, this campaign that we worked on was amazing. Like, you saw the change. All the stuff that they literally applied to us, encouraging us the whole way. It was crazy when you did that speech. That was awesome.
The speech, my first speech.
The speech.
And like I was saying, I was nervous as hell, but I had to talk myself into it. And if I got out of my comfort zone giving a speech, anybody can do it. And that's what this SPUR program has allowed me to do things that I would not do in my daily life.
Going and talk to people, get people involved, fight for their contract, fighting for their rights, you know, standing up, even just doing the survey. What would you like to see on your contract?
But it's empowering. It's empowering. It's a bigger cause to be a part of people's lives and educate them in what the union does.
I've enjoyed my experience as SPUR. I want to continue doing it. I love doing it. I love the things that we've done. We've helped to get people back that were suspended back into the jobs. We've helped other unions. It's just amazing the things I've seen and things I've been a part of just in this, since we've been here in February.
And just that feeling, that positive energy that I got from all you guys. And 6 months ago to now, look where we're at now.
Yeah. And that's the thing about this team. At first, you know, of course, you consider it a very daunting task, but at the end, we execute always.
Yeah.
You know?
Hello, my name's James Pete. I'm a Ralph's member and also a SPUR with UFCW 770. I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on with our upcoming grocery store contracts that are going to be starting in early 2025. In July, we had our first stewards and leaders meeting. There we discussed what it's going to take to get the contract that our members deserve. Let's see. There will be a second meeting. There will be more leadership meetings in September, on September 23rd and 27th, in a total of 9 locations. And our steward seminar training will be held in the month of October.
Okay. All right, well, I turned the sound up, so hopefully did I do the right thing? Oh, that's the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna give a bit of I know Nam talked a lot about the merger. I'm gonna give a little bit of more of an update on the merger. One of the reasons we're talking a lot about it, obviously, is it impacts the vast majority of our members that work for Kroger, either at a Ralph's or Food for Less, or at an Albertsons, Vons, or Pavilion store. If the merger goes through, they would all be into one company, and a whole bunch of stores would be sold off and potentially closed, and we could lose a huge number of members. Folks may remember back in 2015 when Albertsons and Vons merged, it was a similar situation. And in Southern California, 85 stores ended up closing. Some reopened, most did not. And there was a loss of a lot of members, and that impacts all of us because as the union shrinks, it impacts the power of the union for everyone. So as Nam mentioned, the Federal Trade Commission is an agency of the federal government. Lena Khan is the head of it, and she is very pro-worker. So she looks at mergers from the perspective of how is it going to impact workers. This would not be the case if it were not for the current Biden administration. There are a lot of businesses that are lobbying to get rid of Lena Khan because she cares about workers. And so that's why politics matters. So we have been working since the merger was announced in October of 2022, and there were a lot of questions about this that came in about, isn't the merger really a done deal? Well, the companies have been saying literally since October of 2022, almost 2 years now, that the merger was a done deal, but it's not. It has not been a done deal. We've worked with a coalition of other locals to fight the merger since then. And we've worked very closely with the Federal Trade Commission and Lena Khan and her staff. And we're able to get a hearing. The FTC has taken the company to court. The hearing started August 26th in Portland, Oregon, and there are still 2 trials. Even after this trial, there are 2 more potential trials in the state of Washington and the state of Colorado that will start later this month. But the current trial that's happening in Portland is continuing this week. It's already gone 2 weeks. This is a 3rd week. It's probably going to wrap up, and we anticipate getting a decision from the judge in the next week or 2. And this decision would be a temporary restraining order stopping the merger, at least until the FTC has an opportunity to have their own internal investigation and hearings. So most people believe that if we win this temporary restraining order, the merger will be stopped because it's going to delay it so long that it may not go through at all. Local 770, along with a number of other unions, were there at the start of the trial with a very effective press conference that added workers' voices to the conversation about the merger. It got picked up and seen by about 1 billion people, which is worth about $20 million in publicity value, or what we called earned media. We had one of our members and executive board members, Jesse Crowley, a pharmacist, up there talking about how the merger will impact the availability of pharmaceuticals to folks. If there were closures, many parts of LA would become pharmacy deserts where people would not have a place to pick up their prescriptions, and Jesse talked a lot about that. So as Nam kind of already said, we can't really overstate how important this fight has been, along with all the other things you heard tonight that have been going on with the Rite Aid and CVS contracts expired, with our major grocery contract coming up, how important it is to continue these fights, and how the future of the union and all of the jobs of all of the members in all of our divisions depend on it. Nam has mentioned that Kroger and Albertsons have spent nearly $1 billion fighting the FTC. to get their merger through. They have so many lawyers. I know Jessie, who was up there in Portland, said she saw 20 Kroger and Albertsons lawyers going in to the courthouse for the first day of the trial. I know I had my deposition taken for this case, and they had about 8 lawyers attend my deposition. So I think, as Nam said, they have plenty of money to spend on their lawyers, but when we get to the bargaining table, they don't have that kind of spending for their workers. And in fact, they've said they're going to spend $1 billion on wages if the merger goes through. But if they had the $1 billion to spend on wages, why wouldn't they spend it now? So, I mean, it's all, in my opinion, BS. So we've gotten our talking points out into the media, as I've said. We have a customer petition. We've been wearing buttons. We've been updating our members. Here is this is in the back. Folks should take this. It has a QR code that customers or anybody can scan to sign to show their support for stopping the merger. And so we need everyone, whether you're a Kroger or Albertsons member or CVS or Rite Aid, Packing House or Cannabis or Kaiser, to sign these showing that you oppose the merger, to keep 770 strong and keep all of our members strong. So with everything we have going on, I'm going to turn now to talk about the campaign to increase our resources, to raise and restructure our dues. So everyone should have received a notice by now about the dues increase and restructure vote that's coming up on September 20th. And I cannot stress enough how vital it is to continuing all the work that we've talked about here tonight and all the work we've been doing to become a more member-powered union dedicated to organizing, winning historic contracts, and fighting corporate greed, like the merger, as we've mentioned, like Marquise mentioned about CVS making $11 billion in profit and not wanting to share any of it with the workers. We are fighting these kinds of corporations every day, and we have to be able to continue to do that. Training more leaders, as you saw in the SPUR program, that is our member training program where they come out and do organizing on our different campaigns, and they learn excellent skills to be able to take back to their stores and build contract action teams and build up the strength in their store. And we are doing more things like that than ever before. The corporations that we deal with are investing more and more in union busting tactics every day to increase their profits by cutting labor costs. They enrich the lives of their shareholders and their CEOs at the expense of their workers. As I said, the challenges that are being faced by CVS and Rite Aid workers right now today, the case of the CVS and Sylmar that Marquise talked about, I just want to mention how worker power is so important to build. These folks had been waiting a month to get their air conditioning fixed. They had come out and had people work on fixing it, and it fixed a little bit, then it broke, it fixed, it broke. When they all stood together and walked out of work yesterday, you can't believe the number of phone calls we got. They got to go back to work. They got to go back to work. Well, you know, it's 100 degrees in there. They can't, it's not safe, and it's not, you know, a dignified way to work for them to be there in 100-degree weather with no air conditioning. So, you know, we were back and forth with the company. They were claiming to me it was 83 degrees in there, and the workers sent me a picture of the thermostat showing it was over 90. And I sent him the picture and said, hey, like, here's a picture. Who's telling you that? He said, well, the district leader told me it's only 83 degrees. And I was like, did he send you a picture? So anyway, it went back and forth. But let me tell you one thing. After they walked out today, they went back to work, and guess what? The air conditioning is fixed. So we got to build that kind of member power in every store, because that's what we have is the people power is the only way to fight against these corporations. So, and, you know, you talked about the poverty wages that CVS and Rite Aid are offering. And in addition particularly at Rite Aid, proposing to take away many hard-fought wins that we have in our contracts. So, and we have more contract fights coming up later this year and next year, as you heard about the master food agreement, Kaiser and cannabis contracts. So I became president almost 2 years ago. Okay, so John Grant, I think it was almost exactly 2 years ago, announced that he was going to retire. And, you know, I became president and finished out his term and then just got reelected. And my first year as president, Danny and I went around and listened. We did listening sessions. I don't know how many folks attended one of those listening sessions, but we went around, we held more than 25 sessions all around the local, listening to what the members wanted. One of the things that we heard most is they want to see more union presence in their store. And so we have created a plan to do that. We are going to be restructuring the way our field operations work. I think I talked about this at the last meeting, but I'm going to talk about it again, because by the end of the year, this field restructure is going to take place, where currently each rep has a district and they are responsible for everything within their district, all the grievances, all the problems that come up, as well as building member leaders, right? But it's difficult to focus on so many things. They're often pulled away to a grievance meeting or to help a worker having a crisis. And so they don't have enough time to build the strength and build the leadership that's needed to do something like what happened at the CVS yesterday, for folks to understand their rights, for folks to be able to enforce their own contracts. So we need more union presence to be able to build those leaders and to build that power so people can fight back on their own. So we're going to be separating the reps. So every store is going to have 2 reps, basically, one that's responsible for enforcing the contract and dealing with, you know, crisis and grievances, and one that just spends time talking to members, building leadership, doing education about folks' rights, and getting to know the members and helping support the building of contract action teams, and, you know, supporting members to build up their power, right? To create more solidarity in each store. I've just heard tonight about stores where there's infighting and people backbiting each other and throwing each other under the bus. And that's not a way a union should operate, right? I mean, but how many people have that in their stores where somebody's you know, an ass kisser, I hope, sorry, butt kisser, I don't know, sorry. But, you know, and they're trying to throw their coworker under the bus because they think they're going to get something out of that, right? They're not going to get anything out of that. We got to all stick together, and we got to have some presence, union presence in the store to build that up. So that's one of the things we're doing. As Nam mentioned, lots of political investment in the past several years. It's paid off in a lot of legislation. We've got Fair Work Week in LA, which now we're going to be spreading elsewhere. We've got more sick pay, and of course, most of our contracts already had 6 days of sick pay, but now the state of California requires 5 days, the city of LA 6 days. So we're making sure that there's a level playing field between, you know, union and non-union, so that you know, it's not so different, and it helps our union members too, because not all of them have that in their contracts. Again, the relationship we developed with the FTC, a whole bunch of pharmacy legislation that we've passed over the years. The legislation that keeps alcohol from going through the self-check machines. The recently passed Senate Bill 553, which is the Workplace Violence Prevention Act, which is now just going into effect, but requiring all of our employers at least to report every violent incident. We get reports all the time from our members about how much violence they're facing in the stores, but there was, until this bill, no requirement even for the companies to report that. And now they have to come up with a plan to address it as well, and they have to include the union and the workers in developing that plan. So these are a lot of legislation, and there's a lot more, but I'm just hitting some highlights. So to continue these fights and all the fights we'll face in the future, we do need additional resources. So we've come up with a plan to restructure and increase the dues by a little bit. It was proposed by the executive board, which is made up of more than 75% rank and file members. Ray Cordova, who is an executive board member and who serves on our finance committee and helped come up with the recommendations that are coming to the vote, is going to talk a little bit more about the process that the members on the executive board used to come up with the plan that we are going to be voting on the 20th. So if Ray can come.
Hello, Kathy. How you doing? Can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Ray Cordova. I work at Bonds 2164 for 29 years. I'm part of the expense committee here at the local. We look into ways to reduce expenses, and while we have made significant cuts to the budget, we need to find ways to keep the local prepared to function in the future. And increased dues will help fund the fight against the merger, the fight to improve better contracts, provide and organize new workers. These fights are crucial to protect our pensions and our benefits. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Do I have to do something here? Okay. Thanks, Ray. So the plan, I'm going to talk about the exact plan. The plan proposed by the executive board creates a dues rate for each classification that's based on the experienced wage rate and the benefits guaranteed for that classification in the contract. So prior to this, the current dues structure that we have has like, well, I don't even remember the numbers, like 200 and something different dues rates. And they are not related at all to what people earn. So there are a lot of classifications where somebody who earns more money pays less in dues than somebody else. So we're creating a much fairer structure that's based on what people have guaranteed in their contract. And it's going to be implemented in 2 steps. So first this year in November 2024, and then January 1, 2026. And then in 2028, there will be an authorization for the executive board to increase dues only if necessary and by no more than 2% in any year, inclusive of increases that may be mandated by the International Union. So just so folks know, in the past over 20 years, we have not had a dues increase other than a few that were mandated by the International Union. But even on those, we have not always passed that increase along to the members. So when the international does a dues increase, it can be more than 2%, but we would guarantee that there would not be more than a 2% increase. And 2% basically, if somebody's paying $15 a week in dues, which is about the average of what folks are paying under this plan and basically what people are paying now, it would be 30 cents per week increase as a maximum and only if needed going forward. So that we wouldn't get into the situation that we did now of not having dues increase for so long. And with the resources that a dues increase will bring in, we will continue to invest in building a strong member-powered union, organizing more workers in our core industries, increasing our presence in the store, training more members than ever before in our SPUR programs, building our strength to fight against big corporations, having bargaining committees. So in our contract negotiations, something that we only started in the last few years. And how many people here have participated on a bargaining committee? I know I see some. That means they're actually sitting at the table. But before a few years ago, we didn't even do that. And so we're going to invest in having more folks being able to be on our bargaining committees, building the strength to fight against the big corporations, increasing our advocacy for legislation and policies that affect the members, and increasing our communications capabilities. So as I said, there has not been a voted dues increase here for well over 20 years. The times that the international has raised dues that Local 770 has to pay to the International Union, we have for the most part not even passed those along to the members. We've worked very hard to maintain what we spend within the dues structure that we've had since 2002. But we cannot continue to take on the fights we face in 2024 with a dues structure that we've had since before 2002, 22-year-old structure. So on September 20th, I hope you all come out to vote. We're going to be having 3 meetings that day, one from 8 to 10, one from 1 to 3, one from 5 to 7. During the day, if you cannot make one of the meetings, we will allow folks to come vote all day between 8 and 7 at any of those offices. But we really do encourage you to come to one of the presentations so that you can hear a little bit more about what we're going to be doing. I appreciate, that so many members are, attending this meeting. I'm glad to see so many involved folks. And I am going to, open it up now for questions or comments. I know there are a bunch that have been coming in on the chat. So do you want me to start with one from the chat? Okay, this is, why is voting for union increases only in person and on only one day? This is from Bianca Martinez from Kaiser in Panorama City. And we had the same question from some other members. So if you also asked that question, this is for you. Traditionally, I will say, we've always had these kinds of votes this way. So I know some folks have asked, well, when we vote on our contract, we do it differently. Part of it is the way our bylaws and the Constitution of the International are, that require internal union elections to be a certain way, by a certain form of secret ballot, that we have to do it in in-person meeting. So there are some, regulations in the way that we run these types of votes that are different than how we have a lot more flexibility when we do a contract vote. And so we have been trying out new things and trying out this thing called Election Buddy, which how many people have participated in a vote where we've sent a text or email? So we have tried, actually, Local 770 is one of the locals that has tried to push the international to make our internal voting more democratic as well, and to open it up to allow us to do our internal union votes the same way with Election Buddy. That has not yet really been approved by the international, so we've been pushing that as a new way to do voting. But for right now, we have certain methods that we have to do for this kind of vote, that we don't have the same flexibility that we have for a contract vote. So we really hope by having all day voting from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. In every single office that we have, that folks will be able to make it out and, have their voice heard. Should we take anybody out there? Yes. Oh, let me explain something. So in order for the people to be able to hear you, if folks from the audience are going to speak, I want you to get up and come over here. There's like some tape on the ground there. If you stand right there, they're going to be able to see you and hear you. Fabulous. Yeah, you see us, like, stand that way and face me.
Okay.
And then they can see you over there. See you on the camera?
Yay me.
Okay.
My question is basically, I'm a steward.
Yeah.
And I need to take this back. I want to encourage my people to vote for this. I think we do need an increase. And they're gonna have a lot of questions. Do you have a little piece of paper you're gonna hand out that says, if you make X, it'll probably go to this, that kind of thing? Something like that, multicolored?
This is it.
That would be perfect. And we can get some fat stacks of those?
Yeah, well, actually, if people want these, what we're asking is that the rep, the union rep, is going to explain it, because it's a little bit complicated. And so I think it would be good for folks to have an explanation from their union rep. So what we've asked, when we sent out the notice, we said, if anybody wants to see the full plan, all they have to do is ask their union rep, or, call the office, we'll get it to them. So,
Okay.
I mean, I can give you one.
Yes, I'll take one.
And we can give them to folks who are here, but if folks who are not here at the actual meeting want one, just call your union rep will bring you one, but we want to basically be sure that people get a good explanation of what it is, because it is, as you can see, it is a little complicated. But I can tell you, it's way less complicated than the current structure we have, which has more than 200 different dues rates currently right now. So we're making it much less complicated.
Thank
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll go for another one from. Woo. Okay, can you talk about why the proposed dues increase doesn't have different rates for full-time versus part-time? This is from Jessica Crowley, who I talked about earlier, who went to Portland, our pharmacy executive board member. Great question, Jesse. So we at Local 770, we've never had different rates for full-time and part-time. I know it has come up that why should a full-timer or part-timer pay the same rate? And one of the reasons is because not always, a lot of part-timers work very, very close to full-time hours. And if we started making a bunch of different rates, lower for part-time, you know, then the full-time one would have to go up more. And not all part-time, you know, a part-timer, like for pharmacy, for example, their minimum guarantee is only 16. So somebody, a part-time person in pharmacy could work a very wide range of hours between 16 and literally all the way up to 40. Many part-timers work 40 hours almost every week. And so that would create its own unfairness, right? So not everything in the dues structure is completely fair. We're trying to make it more fair, but it's very difficult because everybody has like, why is it this for me? And why is it this for me? So we're trying to make it as fair as possible. There's always going to be some, you know, level of things that are not completely 100% fair. So, and that is one of them. And I appreciate the question. Any more from the audience here? I'll take another one from online. Okay, can you explain the 2% again? Is it indefinite? So I would say yes and no, it is not indefinite. First of all, 2%, the reason we chose 2% is because it's very low, it's less than inflation, it's generally less than any wage increases that folks, you know, are getting in their contracts. And, you know, as I said, for somebody, the average dues rate is about $15. 2% is 30 cents a week. So it's a very low amount. And it's only if the executive board, who is made up of members also that pay dues, only if the executive board finds that it is needed, right? And we have been doing a lot on the executive board. I will tell you, there's folks in here you can talk to who are on the executive board, have been doing a lot to try to rein in spending to ensure that we don't have to do these increases, you know, anymore. And like I said, we've worked very hard, which is why it's been 22 years since there's been a dues increase. And this will actually protect against this kind of situation happening again, where we get to a point where, you know, spending has increased over 22 years and dues have not gone up at all. So now we're having to, you know, do this. So it's in some sense indefinite, but it's only if the executive board finds it's necessary, and it's a very small amount. But it's better, we think, to have very small increases along the way than having to have, you know, waiting a long time and having a big increase later. So it's 2% of the dues amount, not 2% of your wages or 2%. It's 2% of the dues amount that you're currently paying. So if your dues are $10 a week, it would only be 20 cents. If your dues are $15 a week, it would be an extra 30 cents a week. If your dues are $20 a week, it would be an extra 40 cents a week, right? And $20 that's about the highest rate. I see James. Yeah, come up to the white line here so you can be on camera.
So I just wanted to make a statement that I know some people are apprehensive about when they hear about the 2% thing, but as you covered, you know, this is going to be decided on through rank and file members, the people you work alongside every day, and it wouldn't be done for just no good reason. You know, like this is, like you said, this is your union brothers and sisters that you're working in the stores with side by side who would be making this decision. And, you know, I personally, I trust my coworkers, you know, to make the decision that would be in their best interest and by extension, my best interest.
Thanks. Anybody else? We have some more here. Questions about voting days and times for people who can't make it. So yeah, unfortunately, the voting days and times are the ones that are set. It's going to be September 20th from 8 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. It's at every single local union office. Hopefully folks can make it to one of those offices during that time. Those are going to be the only times that that voting is going to be available. So, you know, hopefully it's not a hardship for folks. And, you know, if you need help or whatever getting there, you know, hopefully you can get a ride with a coworker or something like that to be able to make it sometime between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. at any local union office. is it possible to send a separate proposal that separates the yearly 2% from the 2 increases this November and 2026? So I think this question is can we vote it as 2 separate proposals? One that's about the 2% and one that's about the increases that are being proposed. I mean, that is not what I think, well, the executive board proposed. I would actually, part of this is mandated how we do this in our bylaws. So before we did something like that, I would need to check it with our, attorneys to make sure, because that's not the way that the executive board proposed it. So the way that it works in the bylaws is you can only go to the membership with a dues increase based on a recommendation from the executive board. So the executive board made a recommendation. That's what we're taking to the members for a vote. I would have to find out. So I actually I can't really answer that question because that's kind of a legalese question. And we'd have to go back to the executive board and make sure that was, okay with them before we did that. And we have a few executive board members here tonight, but not everyone. I mean, obviously the executive board has 30 folks on it, and most of them, like 25, 26 or something, are rank and file members from Kaiser, Albertsons, Vons, CVS, Rite Aid. We got cannabis, we got packing house members all on. So every industry is represented on the executive board. What happens if the members vote no? That is a great question. So I will tell you, for those of you who paid attention and were listening when Danny read the trustees report, which is the financial report, how many of you noticed that from January of this year to June of this year, we spent more money than we brought in? Okay. So because the dues last went up more than 20 years ago, for the past 10 years, the local has been, expenses have been going up and, revenue has stayed the same. And at some point you're spending more money than you're bringing in. So that's been going on for about 10 years. We had a large reserve, so we've been spending some reserve to try not to have to raise dues for a long time. But over time, as everybody knows, with inflation, everything, expenses continue to go up. If our revenue stays the same, we can't continue to spend more money than we bring in. So we would have to cut expenses, because as the president, it's my responsibility to make sure that, we don't continue to spend more than we're bringing in. So expenses would have to be cut, potentially fewer spurs, fewer bargaining committee members, fewer employees, fewer, legislative initiatives, fewer of all the things that we talked about tonight. So we really don't want to do that. We haven't decided exactly what cuts would be. It would be difficult decisions for the executive board to have to make, me and the executive board to have to make. I don't want to be in that position, to tell you the truth. I really don't want to be in that position. So we're relying on the members to come out and vote. Hetty.
So I want to speak to the Kaiser members out there who are listening. For over the last 20 years, our union has negotiated over 20% increases in raises for all of us. And so when we look at a 2% raise versus a 20, probably a 20, I'm trying to do it in my head and I couldn't figure it out. It's probably about 26% over the last 20 years. And we're asking you to chip in an extra 2% at 30 cents an hour a week. If you add all of that up, you can't even buy a Starbucks for what we're asking. I know that's what you all think about, when am I going to be able to get a Starbucks if I chip in 30 cents more a week? So, if you look at that and all the resources that are out there, when you say, I haven't seen my union rep, well, we're only 3 union reps for all of almost 1,800 Kaiser employees, plus me. And so we can't get out to all of you if we have more resources. When you ask me for a t-shirt, how come we can't have a t-shirt on Solidarity Day? We need money to buy those t-shirts. So we're asking you to say yes I feel like I'm campaigning for some proposition here. We're asking you to say yes to 2%. If you want to continue to get the raises that you're anticipating for the next 4 years in our contract, and you're all asking for 6.5% as the same as UHW got or more, we need the resources to get that for you. And all the workplace safety legislation that we passed during COVID and we continue to pass, we need the resources to make that happen. So seriously, people, you can do this. I know you can. Thank you.
Yeah, there is something else I do want to say about Kaiser in particular. So Kaiser is a member of a coalition, and it's called the Alliance, with a bunch of other unions, UNAC and some other unions. And I think most of the Kaiser folks know, so I'm speaking to the Kaiser folks as well. They know what the other members of the Alliance pay in dues, and Local 770 has by far the lowest dues of any of the other Alliance or coalition members or any of the other unions that have folks that work at Kaiser. Local 770's dues are the absolute lowest. And so, and it will stay that way. You know, with these increases, we're still going to be the lowest, but, you know, to be able to, you know, do the t-shirts and, you know, I know that the coalition of Kaiser unions last year went on strike to get a good contract. It takes a lot of work to prepare for a strike. Not all those unions have a strike fund. 770 does have a strike fund. Every time there's a strike, 770 pays a strike benefit. Not all unions do that, but that also takes resources to be able to pay, you know, to make sure that people have, you know, resources when they're out on strike takes you know, some money coming in that we put aside for a strike benefit. And every time we are going to go on strike, our executive board sets a strike benefit for our members. And not all the unions at Kaiser, right, Hetty? Not all the unions at Kaiser, and not all unions have that. Even ones that charge more dues than we do. So it is, you know, it is a struggle to ensure, you know, that we are as efficiently as possible using the members' resources. In fact, one thing I forgot to say when we were talking about the merger, when we were talking about how much how much Kroger spent on their lobbying and lawyers and everything they did to push the merger. And it's now, I'm sure with the lawyers at the trials, close to $1 billion. A month ago, it was like 850 million, but I'm sure now it's close to $1 billion. We were in a coalition of locals, and all together, all the locals that worked together on this spent less than $1 for every $1,000 that Kroger spent on the merger. And yet we're winning because we're efficient. I talked about how it was press conferences and the actions that we do, we're getting earned media instead of paying to put messages out. We're using people power, petitions, our members, not a bunch of high-priced lawyers. We do have some lawyers and experts, but we are, you know, joining with other unions to pay for that. So it's like we're, you know, fighting millions of dollars with pennies, right? But we're being successful at it because we are using the resources strategically and ensuring that we're only putting things into the places that we need to, that are necessary. Have another one? This one. Okay. I think Marquise has something he wants to say.
Well, just have a quick statement just for everybody, for all the membership and everybody that has any kind of concerns. As a Spur, you know, I've come from the CVS store. I've been 10 years at CVS as a lead tech. Now I'm on the other side. I get to see the inner workings and how it works. And I can guarantee you that restructuring is very much needed. As I see how the reps work every day, the organizers, I see people, I see our president, I see the treasurer, I see everybody from top to bottom, man, woman, work their butts off. Not just on call all day, every day. Stacks agreements is up to the neck. Having to deal with so many different things, having to juggle so many places, like Hetty said, just with the Kaiser reps. Having to work an area from Bakersfield to Chino to Torrance, all the way to Santa Monica and everything in between.
That's just too much for one person or two people. It's too much for just basically when you have Armando Galvez, Big Mondo, we like to call him. All the stores he has to help, all you have Sam's, all the stores they have to take care of. There's so much for just one or two people to do. And for us to get better representation, it's gonna take more money. And I understand, I don't wanna pay any more money than anybody else. I don't wanna pay taxes more than anybody, but sometimes those are the things we have to do. To have the roads that we drive on, it takes money. To have the schools for your kids, it takes money. To have the representation that it needs to get better contracts, it's gonna take money. It's gonna take more representatives, it's gonna take more feet on the street. It's gonna take more people out there fighting for us than what we have. The people we have are great, but we need more. There's only so much we can do. Like I said, when compared to what the corporations are doing, how much they're spending compared to what we're spending, we're still winning the battle, but we need more out there. We need more, and we need to cut out the disinformation that they have. We need to get more people. We need to start contract negotiations. The minute that one contract is signed, we need to start fighting for the next. And we can do that with more manpower, more woman power, more people power. So I want to make sure we're all correct. But I want to make sure, but I honestly want to know everybody. I understand any reservations anybody has, financially, of course, nobody even wants to spend more money, but you want to know where your money's going to. And that's why we're here right now, to let you know where the money's going to. What's for, and I'm, as a union member, a union dues paying member for 10 years, I'm telling you, I'm behind it because I can see what the path is. I can see what the division is, and I can see where this is going to, and how this won't just benefit 30,000 members that we have now, but next 30,000 members we have in the future. So basically, I'm asking everybody to get on board, but I want you to vote your heart, vote what you feel that you have to do, but I want you to listen carefully and know this is for the betterment of the members. This is betterment for every man, woman, child, and for your family to get better pay, to get better benefits, and better for the next level, for the next generation that comes. So I just wanted to make sure everybody heard it, know that we're all in this together. We're all in solidarity. We're all working together, and that the next step is going to have to be a very important one for our future.
Thanks, Marquise. Okay. So I just want to mention the meeting is scheduled to go from 6 to 7:30. I'm being told we're getting close to the 7:30. If we're not already there, we have a few more minutes. I do want to say, if you have a question already in the chat or the question and answer box and it has not been addressed, we always, at the end of the meeting, we print those out. We will respond. If you are anonymous, I don't know if we have any anonymous ones. I know we were on a meeting last night too. There was a bunch of anonymous folks. You need to reach out to someone because we can't reach out to you because we don't know who you are. But yeah, anonymous is anonymous, right? So, but if your name is there, we'll reach out to you. If you're anonymous and you put a question and we didn't get to you, please reach out to your union reps. Your union reps will respond to you. And otherwise we'll reach out to you. I don't know how much we have. One more before. Oh, we have some questions not related to dues. That would be great. Okay. If Ralph's were ever to go on strike, what would the union do to prevent a lockout? Okay, so that's a great question. So I will say, I think what this person's talking about is back in 2003, we had a strike against Vons and Ralph's and Albertsons locked out all of their workers, right? And I know we probably have some people who were on the picket line during that strike, right? So, including Danny, our secretary treasurer. And so that was found later on to have been done pursuant to an illegal pact. So they had signed a pact with each other because, and this is, interestingly, this is related to the merger, right? So they want to collude with each other to keep down the power of labor, because when there's multiple companies competing against each other, we can strike one company and send the customers to another competing company. And that's what puts pressure. That's the leverage of a strike. The reason a strike works is because one company doesn't want to lose its customers to another company. And in 2003, knowing that, these companies entered into an illegal pact that said that if we strike one company, the other companies are gonna lock out. That's not the illegal part, although that probably should be illegal. The illegal part is that they then agreed to share profits. So what we had done at that time, as folks recall, we decided to take the picket lines down off of Ralph's and send customers, because we're trying, not because we think Ralph's is great, but because we're trying to build a wedge between the companies so that one company will settle. Because once one company settles, then you can start sending the customers there and force the other company to settle. That's how we've gotten our most recent, as those who've been on the bargaining committee. Last time, we were able to get a settlement with Albertsons, right? We were negotiating with both of them, but eventually Albertsons is the one that caved and agreed to the settlement. And then Ralph's couldn't say no because they didn't want us to be able to strike them and send the customers to Albertsons, right? So that is how we build leverage. And in 0304, because they were sharing profits, it ended up not mattering, even though we took the picket lines off of Ralph's and sent customers there, all of their profits were being shared. That was illegal. They cannot share profits. That's also an antitrust violation. Same thing that they're trying to do now in the merger. They want to just merge. If they're one big company, then we don't have that leverage in bargaining anymore, right? So I think the question about how do we prevent a lockout, we can't prevent a lockout. It's a company, just like we have the right to strike, they have the right to lock out. But because of the different circumstances that we're in now, meaning that we, uncovered this illegal pact they did, Ralph's ended up, in addition to that illegal activity, because we took the picket lines down, they ended up bringing people back under false social security numbers. They ended up having to pay $70 million in a fine, and pay to some of the workers who were impacted by that. So anyway, because of some of the things we did after the 0304 strike, it's much less likely there would be a lockout. We cannot prevent a lockout. Those are the sort of weapons of war. I don't like using war analogies, but the weapons that we have in labor relations are strikes, lockouts, rallies, petitions, boycotts, all the things that we do. Those are the weapons we have, but the strongest one is, of course, a strike, and for them is a lockout. But they don't want to lock out because they really don't want to not have their workers inside. They don't want to not have customers. They only did that last time because of this illegal arrangement that they entered into, which we don't believe they'll do again. Oh, okay. So people are asking about the difference between an unfair labor practice strike and an economic strike. So we are taking strike votes with CVS at the end of this month. So this is very impactful for them, but it's impactful for everyone. So when a company engages in illegal activity, and they all engage in illegal activity, who agrees with me? Okay, right? They all do it. They intimidate their workers. They try to discourage them from being involved in the union. They try to make, wedges in between the folks. They try to tell you shouldn't be wearing that button. They interrogate people. They ask them questions about, are you planning to strike? You don't really want to go on strike, do you? They try to encourage you. Those are all unfair, what's called an unfair labor practice. When a company engages in those kinds of things and workers strike in protest of unfair labor practices, they have more protections when they strike. They cannot be replaced. And the union also has more flexibility in strategically having a strike. So in an economic strike, what generally happens is you vote down the offer. If we can't go back to the table and get a better offer, you strike over the economics and kind of everyone walks out. That's the 0304 example. Everyone walks out. We didn't like the offer. Everyone walks out and we stay out until we can get a better offer. In an unfair labor practice strike, you can strike this store on one day. Those folks can go back to work. You can strike another store on another day. As long as you're striking against the various unfair labor practices, you can strategically have a strike. So I don't know how many people were following it, but who heard the hotel and restaurant workers strike over the last year? So a lot of folks here participated in some of their rallies. They were on strike for over a year, okay? And people were like, oh no, on strike for over a year. But it wasn't that bad because they did this hotel one day, they did this hotel another day, they did this hotel another day. And after a year, and I will say this, they had a lot of preparation for this, and it's been years in the making. They've been building a member-powered union for 20 years. Some of the things that we want to change about Local 770, we want to be kind of more like them. But they are getting a 4-year contract with a $10 wage increase over 4 years. But as I said, they were very well organized. They were on strike for over a year, and they were building towards this for many, many, many years. These are some of the things that we want to build in Local 770 by building up the membership, building up the leadership capacity of our members by having more union presence in the store. All of the things that we've been talking about are the things that we're trying to build.
This is gonna be our last one. Grace wants to comment. Oh, you should come up here. Yeah.
Okay, last comment, Grace.
Talking about the 2003 strike, I was a part of that.
Okay.
I was a part of that, and I feel that going back to the restructuring of the dues, the union paid my rent for 2 months when I applied for hardship. We were out for about 5 months, a little over that. So I feel that it's an investment in ourselves. Our union is supporting us, you know, building better contracts, and it's an investment in ourselves and in our legacy.
Thank you. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, in addition to the strike benefit, which I talked about, we have a hardship fund actually in the 0304 strike. Danny, in addition to being a picket captain at his store, worked right here on this 4th floor for probably 14 hours a day, looking at all the requests that were coming in from members for hardship. And, you know, we had to look at, you know, all their income, whatever, and granting those. So I don't know if you remember meeting Danny then, but he's probably the one that granted that 2 months rent, because he was on the committee. There were other people too, but there were several people on that committee. But we have a hardship fund, we have a food bank, we have other things that we do invest in being able to support folks when they do have to take the very difficult decision of going out on strike to fight for a better future. It is an investment in your future to ensure that we have the resources to do those things when it matters. So thank you, Grace. Thank you to everybody else that participated. It was great to have so many folks on the general membership meeting. We're, I think, getting bigger and bigger each time. So that's awesome because member power requires involvement. So good to see everyone. And don't forget to come out on the 20th, between 8 and 7 p.m. We hope to see you then as well.
Thank you.
Good night.